you take 1 plus 2 and you add them together, you get 3. And 3 is a unity consciousness. It's a trivium. It is a master number. It's one of the master numbers. But what did Tesla say? 9, 6, and 3, or 3, 6, 9 are your master primary numbers. Okay? So 3 is one of your master primary numbers. Okay? And we're going to get to that. So let's go to the next slide. So right now we're dealing with 12. But before I move on, let's deal with 12. Because 12 is not only a master number because it's divisible by 3. But 12, we have 12 body systems. We have 12 zodiacs. Let's go over some of the 12s right quick. Just so we know. Before we go over the 12, this is another chart too that's showing you the 12 zodiacs and how they apply with the body. But then it's showing you the different levels. You see how this thing is expanding out? See, this is how creation is created. It's created in levels. It's created in dimensions. It's created in layers, stacked on top of each other, braided, interwoven into one another. And this is the fabric of the universe. This is the unified field. And the unified field is designed this way. It's weaving and interweaving. This is how our DNA is weaving and interweaving. And this is how we have different levels. And this is how you have levels of worlds or parallel dimensions on top of each other. So let's keep going with the next slide. Now right here, this is showing another thing of 12, when we have 12 body systems. The circulatory system, the endocrine system, is which are one of the most important systems. Now why is the endocrine system so important? Because the endocrine system is what the system that controls the glandular flow, your glandular fluids, your glands, the things that the doctors and society want to tell you don't matter. Like you have these tonsil glands, and they tell you, oh, you can remove your tonsils. But those glands are what is really the centers of your chakras. You have the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. And all these glands are dealing in the brain that are essential for bliss, time travel. Yeah, I said it, time travel. Because time travel can be performed, has been performed by many. And it's done inwardly, is the way that our ancestors did it. There is a black hole that you can open through the body, through the mind, through the spirit. And it can take you to different worlds inside of yourself. And these same worlds correlate to the worlds that we know that are beyond. So let's go on to the next slide. This is showing you the 12 zodiacs and how these zodiacs apply in this system of 12, and how this system of 12 is a master number. But before I move on into the real lesson, let's talk about the zodiacs a little bit. Why is the zodiac so important? Why? Because each one of these animals and the descriptions of these animals are what was comprised to make the human body. This showing you the evolution of the human body and how the human body has systems, has the other systems of different animals of creation. And so this is what's showing you the superhuman, the super being. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. This is talking about the 12 houses. So this is going back in line with the zodiac and showing you some of the characteristics and how the zodiacs or these animals or these tendencies or these instincts, how they affect us. And there'll be further lessons, and we're going to keep talking about how we have to bring these animalistic instincts in control and how we have to master our instincts, master these animalistic instincts, put them in their proper place, and become king and queen or creator of and sit on the top of our crown or our throne or our temple or our body. Having control, putting things and beings in their place because you are the master. Everything is coming from your perspective, out of your two eyes, from your mind, body, and soul and spirit, all together. It's how these entities that are inside of your universe are even able to live. And not only that, as above, so below. So it is your thoughts, it is your higher self and consciousness mind that goes beyond this third dimension that is actually helping to hold all of us together, holding this reality together and creating this projection. So now let's move on. I'm just warming up. So now let's go over this dimension concept. Because I really got a lot of listening to David A. Roberts and his lecture right on YouTube. And we're going to go over how YouTube and how the internet and how these algorithms, you see, can help us to expand, can help us to come together and unite in our expansion and our consciousness so we can move beyond the third level, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, and go all the way back to the 12th dimension or unity consciousness, you see. So let's move on. But let's talk about this first dimension. Now, he has written down here, dimension, first dimension, he has time. Now, time, interesting concept. But what I'm really getting out of it and what really came to my mind first is when he talked about a single cell organism. And we know when you really do your research, and just think about this, when you really do your research, you see that we are androgen, meaning the first beings that come into these type of shells on this earth dimension in 3D were androgen. What does that mean? That means they contain both components of male and female together. More so primarily female, because it had a womb too. So we were able to regenerate, reproduce ourselves. We didn't have to have sex. And now all that takes me back to a story that I was listening to from David Icke. And he was had introduced the world to Crudo Mutwa. It's an African brother. Oh my God, this brother's so sharp. And he just passed away. His condolences to his family, and really want to say a celebration to the energy of him moving forward, because I know that brother is an ascendant brother. That brother will not repeat this lesson again, trust me. But the brother was sharing the story of creation, and he was talking about how some of the first beings to come and tamper with the DNA, or tamper with the single cell, apex human. I'm not going to say he was apex at that time, but I would say he was single celled and didn't have to talk. If you listen to the story, if you go and you look at David Icke and you look at Crudo Mutwa, and you look at what he talked about, the origin story, where he talks about how we were, a male and female, and how a specific being came, the Anunnaki, and how they came and basically tricked us out of that parts of ourselves to where we split and became man and woman, which all ties back to Adam and Eve's story and all that, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. So let's move on. But we're looking at the single cell organism, or the the unity of where we was man and woman combined. Some people say hermaphroditical or hermaphrodite, or I rather say androgen, male and female combined. And so we go on to the second dimension uh, of consciousness is space time. And this is where you can tie this back to the flower of life also. Because I love the depictions of the flower of life. And the flower of life will explain these dimensions quite lovely. But I didn't have my slides up for that right now. So I'm not going to just intermingle those lessons too much, even though we are quantum, so we can handle 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 12 chords of processing information. So, and beyond, we are infinite, we are everything. So anyway, the second dimension, we look at how the where the split came, of where the single cell split to two cells, and we really, he didn't really show the flower of life, but if we would have had the flower of life depiction here, we would have seen the Pica Vesica, where the two circles come together and it forms a wound in the middle. But we're looking at the that would be the next really progression to make the third. But we're looking at space and time right here. That's the second dimension. Okay.